Thank you very much and good morning. In this opportunity, I will present a summary of all the work that has been performed at Chanape in the past year. Chanape is a project of gold, silver, and copper, 86 kilometers of Lima, the San Damian district, around 4,700 meters above sea level. Chanape already had exploration stages, as I explained before. Initially, there was a district mapping. So a stratigraphic column was prepared stemming from this with the Huarochiri formation, a volcanic andesitic. At Chanape, there's more than 50 breccias in general, around 8 kilometers in accumulated veins and multiple igneous intrusions. This is actually a summary. This is something that could be found at the district. There are early stages. The equigranular diorite with different dioritic, porphyry, and some second stage, which is equigranular and dacitic porphyry and some other structures here. Well, this is actually a field picture where you can visualize a nonconformity. This nonconformity hosts tourmaline in the northwest, southeast. This is something that was mapped at the top of this mountain, and there's a spatial relationship between the igneous intrusions, the district, and the breccias. The breccia 8 is located here, which is mainly associated to a fault. Same thing happens with other bodies here. And just to mention, we were able to map a big body in blue. The main characteristic of Kandy is a phreatomagmatic and phreatic breccia with altered and unaltered volcanics. And there's always juvenile fragments found, as in the lower picture. There's a second style of breccia, which is supported by matrix. This is the case of the 11 and 10 breccia, mineralized. It was phreatomagmatic before. We think that is just phreatic, which is a picture in the center, and the picture to the right side of the screen is a phreatic breccia. It's a matrix-supported breccia. This type of breccia cuts the other breccias. There's another style of breccia, which is like a fine tourmaline matrix. Unlike the others, does not have quartz and cement. It's a very fine tourmaline cement. And another characteristic is that it does not have the classic structure that you know. The single breccia to the right. This is not something that we see normally. There's a crown of substructures and asymmetries. The mineralization in depth and the picture of the corner. This is a sample with the breccia in the valley downstream. Unlike the mineralized breccia, this is quartz with some tourmaline. You can see the difference in the color of the cement. Let's move on to the alteration styles. The main breccia styles, this is the 11 and 12 phreatomagmatic and phreatic breccia. There are some sericite, as in the first picture. Then we have an example of a chloritic alteration in the shallower parts of the body, and faults which cut the breccia associated to the edges of the body. You can see that there's a silica cholinite alteration. And normally in the wall, we can have massive silica intrusions. In quartz and tourmaline, it's quite similar to what we saw. There are different versions, but in general, they are very similar. There's a peripheral halo and mid-depth, an alteration of actinolite associated to some actinolite. And normally in the body, restricted to the body, there's an alteration of quartz, sericite, and tourmaline. And there's a late stage that replaces these breccia styles, which is chloride, basically. This is how chloride replaces the tourmaline. And similarly, in the faults associated to the edges, you can tell that there's a low temperature cholinite alteration. Let's move on to the mineralization. The high part, the mineralization, grades to arsenopyrite. At Chanape, there's a direct correlation between the arsenic pyrite versus the silver. And now we will move on to the quartz tourmaline breccias. The vertical is similar to the tourmaline. The mineralization is much intense here. There's a vertical grading towards the higher parts. This is a migration. And they move to an intermediate zone, which is deeper, 400 meters deep than the picture in the left.
Sin embargo, en los bordes
However, in the border of this fault associated, there's silver. In the picture of the middle, they can reach 6.6 kilos of silver. This is cut in the cement, and the arsenopyrite as well. This is similar with tourmaline, and these breccias are hosted around the Kandi breccia. Let's speak about the results. I don't have much time. And the wells are the lines in the black lines. The old wells are the pink lines. This is breccia 8, which is 90 by 45, and the dotted points are samples of channels. And you can see the values of gold. You can find samples up to 8 grams, and the polygon with segmented border, well, this is the surface projection. This is one of the last wells at Chanape, breccia 8 and breccia Clint. And these are pictures of the mineralization in both breccias. This is an emplacement in the high part. There are some clasts which have pervasively replaced and the Clint breccia. With the detailed relogging of the wells at Pichanaque, the good news is that we didn't test copper. The breccias themselves, all of the breccias cut the formation, as I said at the beginning, in the vertical line. According to the textures that can be mapped in surface, depending on the mineral content, we might interpret the grade of each one of these elements. I'm sorry, but he's going very, very fast. So this is why this is one of the most preserved breccia. The 8 has a crown of veinlets and veins, and then we will have the cleaned breccias due to the copper content. We could then say that the parallelism between the deep and the faulty systems, well, I would like to thank you for calling me.
Realización de esta presentación. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Renzo. Tenemos espacio para...
Thank you very much, Renzo. I think we have time for one question, if there is one.
Sí, lo dejan en recepción, por favor. Lo dejan en recepción. 601.
Hello, Renzo. Good presentation. What is the correlation between the brachias phreatid and the ones with the malina in time, in cutting relationship, in the pyrrhotite that you mentioned among the brachias? How is it distributed? Well, this presentation was more extensive because of the time. I shortened it. In general, the brachia has a class of everything, almost everything, and there are some cuts at the borders with tourmaline who are deficient in quartz, but that they are mineralized. The pyrrhotita can be as a halo, and it can be also within the brachia. Usually, once in the vertical disappears the content, arsenopyrite appears this, and then we have also an alteration of chalcopyrite, and okay, thank you.